Before we begin, 3 messages. Here's a riddle. How do you build native cross-platform mobile applications quickly without having to rewrite code and hire consultants at a huge cost? Titanium from Appcelerator. Called the easy button for mobile application development, it allows you to focus more on what's important, getting product out the door. Join the more than 1.5 million active developers who have created over 13,000 apps at www.appcelerator.com. If you're a freelancer or running your own small business, the one thing you probably wish you could do quicker and easier is invoicing. That's where FreshBooks.com comes in. They take the pain out of invoicing and get you paid faster. Effortlessly create invoices and email them to your clients. They can view them, print them, and even pay you right away with PayPal or any of their 11 other payment gateways. FreshBooks.com can automate late payment reminders and help track your billable hours at the office or while on the go with their apps for iPhone, Blackberry, and Android. I'm only one of over 2 million really satisfied customers, and you can be one as well, all for free. Just head to www.freshbooks.com and sign up. When you do, be sure to say you heard of them from untether.tv, and one of you, my loyal viewers, will win a birthday cake each and every week. Doesn't even have to be your birthday. Get started today for free at www.freshbooks.com. When my company needed to develop a key mobile product, one that I was counting on as a new source of revenue, I knew exactly who to turn to. Macadamian. They delivered on time with incredible attention to detail, and I was able to get product into customers' hands faster than I ever thought possible. I've personally known them for 10 years, and they do make great products even better. Check them out at www.macadamian.com. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Untether.tv. My name is Rob Woodbridge. Of course, this is where I bring you conversations with mobile rock stars, actually where we pin them down, squeeze the life out of them, pull all of their juice out, and basically let you use what they've got left for to grow your business. I'm joined today from the great city of New York, one of the hubs of mobile activity, right around Union Square, by Matthew Rosenberg, who is the, let me get this right, the co-founder and director of ideas for FastSociety. I get that right?
That is right. That is right. I'm scared for your audience. I'm not sure what they're going to learn today from me. I feel like this could possibly just taint their business, but I appreciate the opportunity to be able to talk.
This is good, though. Tainting is fine. New levels of thought, new ideas. Maybe there's a caveat at the end of it that says they can make up their own mind whether or not they follow your advice.
I think that's smart. I think you should always, whenever you hear any of these kind of talks, you should always wonder if what the person is saying, if you should take that advice or not. There's no one right path, is what I've learned.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. Well, I hope to get some of your path out of you today as we kind of go have this discussion, because FastSociety, if anybody who doesn't know what it is, it's why don't you tell them what it is? You'll do a better job than I could ever do.
Sure. At the core, it's really a way to communicate in groups and ultimately capture those kind of shared experiences you have with friends. So we're group text messaging, instant conference calls, location sharing, pictures, adding videos very shortly. So it's really about taking this kind of content that you would normally do with your friends, creating a group experience around whether it's just an event like going to a concert or going out to a bar or going on a ski trip, or something where you just want to have a bunch of friends that you can communicate with forever. And being able to kind of capture those experiences by communicating, and ultimately, hopefully down the line, being able to do something with the content that we create.
So, originally I read a great quote, I think it was by TechCrunch, it's like the digital version of kids passing notes in school or in class.
Sure.
You've evolved past from there. I know that because, but was the original concept for this to do temporary groups, temporary conversations?
We've always been focused ultimately around events. I mean, for me, the best group moments or the best things in life happen with groups around events. I'm going to a concert with friends. I'm going on a ski trip. I'm going to party my face off. And
I'm not doing it alone.
No, I would hope not. I mean, maybe if you're hardcore, that's the case. But
sometimes in my basement at night alone, yeah, no problem, yeah. But not all the time. Don't judge.
That's a different channel, right? That's a different Skype channel.
It is.
Yeah, for us, we were at a concert and it was hard to communicate, but we quickly realized that it's not just about the communication. Communication is very much utility, and the last thing we wanted to be is utility.
Yeah.
We come from kind of marketing and brand building and entertainment. We've always wanted to do more than that, and what we realized is that by people communicating, we were creating an emotional kind of experience around that event. We were capturing content that had emotion behind it. And so that kind of opened our eyes to bigger and better things than just group messaging. For us, we think group messaging is a great foundation, but it's kind of a bullshit when it comes to business.
Yeah.
There's just not a lot there.
Well, I mean, it just seemed like all of a sudden all these companies popped up in the group messaging. I think South by Southwest was like, that was the thing at this South by Southwest was group messaging.
It was crazy for us. I mean, we've been working on FastSociety for a year and a half, and this South by was definitely our big coming out in the sense to kind of the world of group messaging. But the space is 10 years old, and there's a lot of reasons why it's people are caring about it now, whether it's smartphones and the way that people can interact with these devices and just the ubiquity of text messaging. But for us, it's been exciting. It's been humbling. And I mean, we're a small team, and out of all of us in the space, I mean, most of our competitors have raised $10 million and they have teams of 30 or 40 people. We're 4 guys and we've raised like 200K. And in a lot of ways, we've not only kept up with our competitors, but we've done things first, whether it was location sharing or conference calls or time-based events. And so for us to kind of be ahead of the curve in a lot of ways, but also be able to compete with them, especially at a place like South by where money talks, and we had to be creative. But we threw, I think, the most rocking South by Southwest party ever. So it was awesome for us. We had Patron as a sponsor. Went through 90 bottles of Patron and like 4,000 beers in one night.
At 11 in the morning, isn't it? No, it was at night, right? Yeah.
We did it at night. So we did it. We were supposed to go for about 3 hours, and we ended up just going until we were like, screw it. If the cops come, the cops come. And it was a house party, and we said, let's just do it. And it just was I thought it was one of the greatest parties at South by I've ever been to, and the feedback was all really positive and along those lines. So it was awesome.
So how do you do that? How do you? I mean, you're right. Like Group.me. I mean, these guys aren't really competitors. I think you guys are going after different demographics, but there are big companies. Like I've interviewed Yobongo. They're another company that bootstrapped, right?
And it's Yobongo is definitely different than us. And as we've evolved, we are finding, we're not just trying to be group text messaging. We think, like I said, it's a great foundation for what we're trying to do, which is really taking that content that people build around events and doing cool things with it. I think that, but you're right. I mean, their space is crowded. There's a lot of people. We've been able to kind of make a name for ourselves because we've been ourselves. I mean, I don't know how else to describe it. We're not your typical founders. I would say in a lot of ways, we're probably not like the people you typically interview. This is probably going somewhat different. There are a lot of, we're very much a kind of personality in the sense that we're just ourselves. We didn't come from necessarily engineering backgrounds. Yeah. It's important to what we do, obviously, and we love technology, but we're marketers and brand builders, and we come from entertainment. That's
the difference
for us. Yeah, I think so. I mean, I think that mobile is, when I look at consumer space, and especially mobile, that the days of engineering being the focus are somewhat over. Yeah. Because I'm a business-to-business startup. Engineering is very important. I'm a technology startup like Google. Engineering is very important. But for us, I mean, group text messaging, look, engineering is very important. We're the only ones that actually built our own platform. We're not on Twilio. We spent a lot of time building that foundation. But if that's all we did, you wouldn't be talking to us today. We would have been long forgotten. The fact is, we're about personality. Our brand is called FastSociety. I'd like to think we're a little bit, our team is a little bit of troublemakers. We're not the typical tech team. We'd like to push the edge in everything we do. Well,
it's obvious, simply just from your marketing perspective, right? You're not pushing a technology, you're pushing a lifestyle or a brand of a lifestyle, right? So even the video demonstration of how to use FastSociety on your website, right? What it does is it portrays this product in a different way. And it's like Apple. Apple doesn't sell a technology; they sell an experience, right?
Sure.
That's what they're trying to do, and people don't get that. They're still trying to say that there's dual core processor in this, and it does that, and it.
No, people get it. The people that they want to get it get it. The people that don't get it are the traditional people from tech that think that that's okay. And unfortunately, we're at a point in the world where technology is a lifestyle. Entrepreneurs are the new rock stars.
Yeah.
I mean, there's a reason that singers and people that are in bands want to be entrepreneurs. There's a reason why celebrities want to be entrepreneurs. Every kid growing up today wants to be an entrepreneur. They want to build apps. I mean, this is going to be a business of personalities and brands. And I'd like to think that one, we embrace it, but I'd also like to think that we're on the forefront of that. I'd like to think that if anything, people can look at what we've done and say, if it's got to be more than just technology, and mobile especially. When you're interacting with it in your hands, when it's right there, there's something about it that is like a beverage. I mean, it's a beverage brand. I mean, there's a reason people buy Coke or vitamin water, and it's because it's marketed right. And there's a reason why I buy an Apple computer. There's a reason why I do all these things, and because the brand and the lifestyle is just as important as the technology. I mean, the brand is all of that. And so,
but how come people don't get that? So how come is it that you can go through a whole bunch of companies that have a chance to win? They got a lot of money, but something's not clicking with it, right? They call themselves group.me or something. That's what it is.
I mean, I think it's it's a DNA of the company. It's up to the founders you have to instill it. For us as a team, I mean, unfortunately, you can't see our office right now, but we have a giant we have a giant FastSociety neon sign that we had custom made right over here. Nice. And we've been kind of brand building since the beginning. I mean, some people just don't look at it as important, but for us to sell to consumers, we think it's everything. And I think that there's a reckoning in our industry in the sense that the people who are going to start to own our industry, especially with consumer stuff, they're not going to come from tech. They're going to come from media and advertising. Especially here in New York, what's amazing to me is that the guys that are doing these digital shops, whether it's Huge or Code and Theory, they're two of the bigger kind of digital shops that design a ton of websites that brands use. The guys at those firms, they're going to do startups, and they are doing startups, and their startups are elegant and beautiful, and they have amazing technology, but they have great copy, and they have great branding and great imagery. And as a user, I'd much rather use a product that's beautiful and compelling than a product that does the same thing but does it in a way that isn't elegant and simple.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the great things. I mean, certainly what you portray with FastSociety is that it is that simple, it is that elegant, it is that easy to use, and it integrates into your life, right?
But it's a troublemaker. At the end of the day, like what we're trying to do with the brand we're trying to build, it's definitely not a utility, but we want it to be edgy. I mean, when we set out to do this, I said that I wanted to create the edgiest brand in the mobile space and the edgiest brand potentially in the tech space, and hopefully both. And hopefully there's people that are looking at what we're doing and they're saying, man, those guys are fucking crazy. I think there's people that come from finance background that are kind of the VCs, and I hope they say those guys are fucking crazy. And I hope there's guys out in the valley that are kind of programming, that are straight B2B guys, or that are building this heavy engineering stuff that say those guys are crazy. I mean, at the end of the day, if we're not shaking things up a little bit, then we're not doing things right. I mean, what's the point of doing startups if you can't cause a little bit of trouble, if you can't utterly be yourself? That's what it's about.
Totally agree. Is that your company is as much about your personality, and it portrays your personality as the product does, right? So whatever you're doing inside of the company, the culture and the people that you're with, I mean, it should come out in the product. You can't hide it. You're not a bunch of accountants building a product, right? No. Targeting these guys. So did you ever have a chance to raise money? Like, you've raised a little bit of money, but did you want to raise big money, or are you worried about that? Like, what am I due?
I don't, my frustration lately with the industry in general is we've decided that companies are winners, or we've declared them winners because they've raised a ton of money.
Oh yeah, that's the way that it's always gone, isn't it?
I think it's unfortunate because suddenly someone raises a lot of money and they're a hero for the wrong kind of reasons. Yeah. And I don't know, it's like one of these celebrities that are celebrities just because they're famous.
Yep.
And they haven't done anything.
Yeah.
When we did this, there were two things. One, when we set out to do this, we wanted to take our time. We wanted to do it right. We wanted to get a product built before we raised any money, which we did. Yep. And then we raised a little bit of money to take our product to the next level, which I think is the right way to do it. And we're going to raise a little bit more money soon to take it even further along.
Yeah.
But I think the worst thing for us would be raising too much money goes against everything that we're about, because then you suddenly have a mom and dad on top of you, and we can't do what we were doing. And to us, it's just worse. It means, at least if we do this, one, we know how to stay lean, and we're hungry and we want it, and it makes us think out of the box. If we had all that money, I think you get fat and slow and sloppy, and it gets harder.
Maybe you get lazy, right?
And it's harder to turn the ship. I mean, we fight for our survival. We live in New York, and we have these huge players around us that are competing with us, and they're all a little bit different than us. But ultimately, our space is noisy. I mean, we did all of our PR ourselves. We threw our own party at South by. We do all of our design development ourselves. We do it all ourselves, and I think the only reason we succeeded, and the only reason that people care, is because we have just such insane passion. I mean, we're literally the most passionate people about this stuff. We wouldn't be here talking if that was the case. Anyone that was smart, anyone that had any sense of any sense of brain power would know that we should not be doing this. They would have given up. It's like, there's no point. There's no point in doing this. This is silly. Why does every day have to be a battle like this? We're just so crazy passionate that we're willing to go out there and just fight every day to stay alive, and just have people care, and to keep growing, and to keep trying to own what we own in the space. And I think
that's the entrepreneurial spirit. Like I think that's a lot of New York and entrepreneurial spirit jammed together, right, in one thing. But when you set out to do this, have you deviated at all from that original vision that you set out to do this a year ago?
I mean, yes and no. To say that we've stuck by our plan 100% is foolish. Of course that's not the case. I mean, our first version is very different than our second version, and what we're coming out with will move that along even more. Our vision was always about helping people have better experiences with their friends, and have people have these shared moments, and help facilitate ways to really go out and party with your friends. I mean, our tagline is built to party, and what we've learned from doing it is the first version, we saw what was wrong and what didn't work, and we went and launched the second version of it, and it's much better. And when we launched the second version with richer media and more of an app-based experience, we started realizing, hey, what we're doing is not just helping people communicate, but content building too. And
you're documenting, I mean, which is great, right?
Yeah, and we're the only people that allow you to go back and actually look at past conversations you've had inside of the app. I mean, for us, the great thing about us is, one, we are our audience. Yeah. And we have a very specific audience in mind when we build this stuff. We know exactly who we want to build it for. We're building it for young people that are urban, mostly urban, that want to go out and be with their friends and want to go out and party. I mean, anyone that's kind of young at heart that wants to go out there and get crazy. And so for us, as we use our product, we've simply evolved with what we've wanted. I mean, we're selfish. We made some decisions early on about who our audience was going to be, and we said, let's build it for us. Let's be selfish. And it's the greatest thing we ever did. I wouldn't know how to build a product for like senior citizens or like mom and dads. I mean, the truth is I don't have kids. I'm not married. I know what I like to do, and I like to have fun. And so we wanted to build an app that at the end of the day, if it just worked for us, we'd still use it. If no one else liked what we were doing and nobody cared, we would have still have been a win for us, because all we wanted to do, what we said we were going to set out and build, we've done. Yeah. I think that any entrepreneur that says they're going to do something and does it, that's a win. It's not about raising money. It's not about having 1 million users. It's about saying you're going to do something and doing it. And I'd like to think that we've always, as a company, stood by our word. We say we're going to throw a great party. We say we're going to build an app. We say we did it. Yeah. I think that's a great feeling. To me, that's all that matters. And as an entrepreneur, you have to keep that focus. Like, I hate that word entrepreneur. I hate the people that are like, well, as an entrepreneur, but when you're building this stuff, you have to remember that at the end of the day, like, what matters is that you're living for yourself. You're doing it for yourself, and that, hey, I can do whatever. I can wake up and do whatever I want. I live the best life ever. I
yes,
never
you do.
have to be anywhere. Yeah, it's crazy. I get to talk to you. So And I feel like that's a big win.
Well, that's how do you? I mean, how do you stand out then? Very little money. I mean, you got the personality. Your partners have got the personality. You got the product. It's targeting the right demographic for it. But I mean, how do you get that message out amidst all those guys who have a lot of money and a lot of power and a lot of reach? We'll say
Sure.
Best PR firms, best VCs. How do you penetrate that?
I mean, we don't. We just go with it. We leverage it.
So you don't look at it. You just say that we're going to do our thing, and it's going to resonate.
Well, I think that's always the case. I mean, we always try to look at ourselves, but those guys make it easy for us to be successful. I mean, they've given us our success.
They paved the way.
Work. Yeah, they paved the way. Suddenly, our space that we'd been spending a year toiling in became the hottest space right as we launched. Yep. So we went with it.
Yep.
I mean, we don't have a PR firm. We've never paid $1 for any PR. But if you go out there and look at our press, we've had more press than most of our competitors that have been paying for it.
Yep.
And unfortunately, fortunately for us, but every time they're mentioning an article now, we get a mention.
You do.
And, in most cases, if we talk to the reporter, those guys, all of our competitors, they have to be very buttoned up. They have to say certain things. They have to stick to the script. They have to not have any personality. Whereas us, we are all about personality. I mean, our brand is our personality. And so anything we talk about is normally on brand.
Yeah.
And so I can sit there and be real with you or a reporter or anyone. I mean, we're kind of it's the great thing about going head to head with all these companies is that we're the wild card. They never know what we're going to say. They never know how we're going to respond. We can go head to head or we can come around back. We could do whatever we want. And I think that's awesome. Those guys, at the end of the day, all of our competitors, I think are, I don't know if scared is the right word, but maybe like a little bit, I would be a little bit scared if it was the other way around. If we had $10 million and a PR firm and all this money, all these people behind us, there's no room to screw up.
Yeah. Because
I have all these people that are telling me I can't, and they're telling me how I have to act and how I have to be. That's what we didn't want. I didn't become an entrepreneur to have a different type of boss. I became an entrepreneur
to be a boss.
Build. Yeah, not even to be a boss, to build what I wanted to build. And so the reason I love our investors that we have, and the reason we've taken our time, is we've always wanted to find the right investors. We've always wanted to find people that believe in our vision. And we've been really lucky that the people that write about this stuff have enjoyed talking to us because they believe in our vision and they like what we're doing and it's different. And we produce compelling content and we have a beautiful brand and a nice logo. And I think that stuff matters. I mean, why are you talking to me?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've been trying to talk to you since October, I think, right?
It has been. I'm a terrible human being. I'm not. I am not. I'm taking our connection for granted, but that is not the case. It's just been a little nuts.
Well, yeah. I mean, we reconnected around South by Southwest, and then you were there launching the product. And why I'm talking to you is because it is a unique brand. What you guys have built here it's not an abrupt, but it's an affront to every other brand that's doing this, right? It's like, what,
sure.
we're going this way, you go that way, but we're going to go our own path. And it's the personality of the brand that was appealing to me. I mean, I read all the reviews starting in October when I saw the first one, and I just thought, I don't know how you guys did it. No money, but it makes sense with the brand. I mean, with the way that you've actually branded your company.
But in some ways, having no money was a blessing in disguise because it let us think outside of the box. I mean, even at South by, the first day we were there, we went to the airport. And we knew that we weren't going to have a lot of money. We picked up people. We had like 3 shuttles come, the cheapest shuttle company we could find. I mean, these were like buses that were falling apart, like just scary to look at, to be honest, a little bit. And we picked up people at the airport. We had a bunch of really cute, beautiful girls that we were friends with from Austin come to the airport with us. And we were slapping slap bracelets on everyone, and we were picking them up and giving them free rides. And by the end of the day, we got kicked out of the airport, and I guarantee nobody will ever be able to do that again. I mean, we had security people surrounding us, kicking us out of the airport. I mean, but the truth is, we did that because we knew there was no way we could pay to do anything else. Yeah. We threw a rocking house party because, one, we wanted to connect with our real users, but two, we could not afford a real venue. But also, every time I go to South by, it's the same venue over and over again. It's whack. We wanted to throw an amazing party. And
without constraints, obviously, as well.
Yeah, without constraints. Yeah. We didn't have to worry about, it was a private space. We could do whatever we want. We wanted people to get crazy.
Yeah.
And we did. I mean, that kind of stuff is important to us. And we're going to take that party that we did in South by and start doing things like that in New York. there's just not a lot of brands that can go out there and throw a party and have it feel authentic. In fact, a lot of these tech parties, I leave after a minute. I hate going to them.
Yeah.
They feel forced. Knowing how to throw a good party is important.
It is, but they are forced because you're competing with 4 other events at the same time. That you might start at 4 o'clock, and what you did, you put it in a house, throwing a bunch of free booze, and nobody's leaving.
Yeah.
Right?
No, nobody left. I mean, Patron was an incredible sponsor to get on board, and it was luck. I mean, we were lucky enough to have a friend of ours who was throwing parties for Thrillist for a while that had just left to start an event company.
Yeah.
It's actually a startup called One Clipboard. His name's Ben Hinman, and we got him to come on board and help us throw that party. And without him, the truth is it wouldn't have been what it was. But we were like, listen, we'll come to South by with us for free and help us throw this party. And he said, sure. So we bought him a plane ticket, and he did a ton of work for us. I mean, he's incredible, and I hope we can pay him back one day for all that he did for us. But even here in New York, we're going to start throwing parties, and the tech community, I know we're supposed to care about them, and we're supposed to care about how many people tweet about us, and we're supposed to be glad that people are sitting up writing blog posts at 3 a.m. about FastSociety, but I'd much rather have people up at 3 a.m. partying their face off in Brooklyn.
using it.
Using it, and having those people kind of be our fans than the tech community. I mean, I love the tech community. We're a part of it, but
you don't have to be. It's funny because the automatic reaction when you start a company, when you're an entrepreneur and you start a mobile company, you start any kind of company, is to go back into the tech community and then try to sell into that tech community and cozy up to Scoble and all these guys to get to promote your product. His audience isn't yours, and I found this. I'll go in and I'll talk at a mobile conference, and it's like I look around and everybody's nodding their head or falling asleep because we're all talking the same language, and it doesn't do anything. But if I go to a plumber conference and I talk about mobile, I'm a god because I know more than these guys. And
well, I'm not sure going to Brooklyn I would be a god to anyone there for talking about technology, but I get what you're saying, that people are passionate about this.
Yeah, but you could go and you find the users who might not be technologists at all. They're probably not, in fact. They're lawyers and or young professionals, as you said. And they're not in the tech community for the most part. They're everywhere. So, limiting it to the tech communities, you're right. Why would you participate in that? Throw a big party, get some big awareness for the product in your target market or your target customer.
Yeah, and I find the problem with the tech community, for better or worse, is it tends to be very cyclical, and it tends to be very follow me. That people start listening to 1 or 2 voices, and everyone suddenly. I mean, the truth is, it was great. It's great for us because group messaging is the hot space. I think it's all a little silly and nuts. But hey, it got us a ton of press. It got me talking to you. It got people to care about what we were doing.
Yeah.
And we're happy to leverage that kind of stuff. But at the end of the day, what we're trying to do is not build a technology company. Is we're building a media company.
Yeah.
And unfortunately for us, fortunately or unfortunately, some people get it and some don't. It's polarizing in our space. And the people that have helped us and the people that are behind us are the people that believe that technology and media are colliding very fast. And you have to leverage both. And we're big believers in that. I mean, everything we do is with the idea that media and marketing and press is important. I think that goes back to how do we get all this press? We just think like that. I mean, we think about all that stuff with everything we do. There is no such thing as you build it, they will come. Once in a lifetime if that happens. But often the people that think that, those guys worked really hard to get those early people there.
Well,
there's no such thing as overnight success.
Well, when you're doing this and you're talking about bridging the technology and media, how does that shape your product? I mean, what does that mean to you guys around FastSociety? Like you're just bringing all that together. You're bringing video, you're bringing context, content, communication, conversation, all in one spot. And then what?
I wish I could be like some of these guys I meet that can distill their theories about social norms and have papers and theses on it. I don't know. We just do what we think is cool. I mean, at the end of the day, I don't know how else to describe it. We're just trying to build something really fucking cool.
Yeah.
And that's literally why we decide to do the decisions that we do. we think it'll be cool, or we see that people think it's cool. Sometimes we're wrong, and and it is not. That's not the case. But we've had more hits than misses at this point.
So
and, we're still very small as well. Obviously, I mean, all this. Take everything I say with a grain of salt, because in the scheme of life, group messaging, period, is extremely small. I mean, we're not mainstream yet. Anyone that thinks that group messaging is mainstream is foolish. I mean, most people don't know what I'm talking about when I get into it and start kind of describing it. People still don't quite understand the value, but there's a lot of value there. And I think it's going to be something that over the next year or two goes mainstream for sure. Whether it's us or whether it's someone else, it's exciting to get to be part of something this early on.
Well, it's a movement, isn't it? And at the early stages of the movement is the best part, because when it becomes pedestrian, you're not going to be interested in it anymore. You're going to be looking for something else to do that pushes that needle a little bit further.
No, you want to know what the best part of it is before it even hits. Is when you're just building it, and you can take your time, and you're doing something exciting. It's when it starts to hit that the pressure to keep up and to race and to make sure you don't miss the ball. That's when you start to really feel pressure. I miss the early days.
So are you feeling that now? You feel like you're under the gun for something to deliver or to innovate or to continue pushing that needle?
I think anyone in our position should feel like that. I think if we were sitting here feeling lazy and not trying to do something innovative and we were just la-di-daing along, we'd be in a lot of trouble.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that once you lose that sense of urgency as a business and as a company, and as part of the culture of your company, you're in big trouble. People will pass you by. Some startup will come along that's more hungry for it. So we've never lost our sense of hunger. I'd like to believe that we're one of the hungriest teams out there. And we'd be the last people to kind of leave the game at night, or we're the last people to leave the practice. I mean, we do whatever it takes to succeed because we have to. And because if we're not out there pounding on doors, then no one's going to do it for us. And everything we've gotten has been because we've worked our faces off. We've never had someone kind of help us open doors. We've had to knock on every one of those doors to convince those people to get behind us, and then we started to have them help us. But it still really is just from our passion and from our heart that we get anywhere, I feel like.
So do you sell that vision? And is that how you do it? I mean, you don't have a PR firm. There's not a big marketing budget. Well,
there's no marketing budget technically. We bought some slap bracelets, which are pretty awesome.
That's it.
But they're from China and relatively cheap. So
you got some slap. What is it? Does it actually say? It says FastSociety on, obviously.
It says built to party.
Nice.
Yeah.
So the brand is so you've got the brand, you've got the hustle, you got the personality to do this thing, you've got the team, the small team, you've got the vision to do this. But again, how do you get the users to come on, or how do you get the right people to know about you? Is it quite simply use and viral and through friends?
I mean, I think it's a lot of things. One, it always comes down to a core product. If the product sucks, no one's going to use it. There's no amount of press or money that will make a terrible product great. I mean, that's the obvious answer. Two, I think you have to seed it with the right people. You have to make the right partnerships. Whether it's getting musicians to use it, or influencers, or finding the right partnership. I think a good partnership can always expand your brand. And and then on top of that, I think that it's really about building a lifestyle business around it as well. I think that's the hardest thing when we talk to a lot of people that they don't understand is, Red Bull, people care about it because there's such a lifestyle brand behind it, or Nike. I'm passionate about Nike shoes, and it's a great product, and they have some great partnerships with athletes, but at the same time, there's a lifestyle associated with Nike, or any of these products that we really care about, or even Apple, who's done a fantastic job of not doing any partnerships, but has done amazing, lifestyle branding and just simplicity of product. Those are the brands that we relate to. So when people are talking about FastSociety, what could you want to be like? Unfortunately, our list of technology brands, there's not really any other apps or anything that we want to be like. We want to be like an Apple or a Nike or Red Bull or Vitamin Water, or these brands that we're passionate about, or like a Quicksilver. I equate us more with like a skateboarding or a snowboard company.
Sure. Back
in the early days of snowboarding, than I would ever compare us to a tech company.
Uncorporate, and off the cuff, right? Which is exactly what it would feel like it back then. But even eventually, that snowboarding, when it became mainstream, and there are more snowboarders on the ski hill now than skiers, and it became corporate, and it moved into the Olympics, and it was a crime to smoke dope and do it, right? Which is what ultimately happened, and big corporate America descended on it. It's not the same anymore, right? It doesn't have that feel anymore because Billabong is a big brand now. It's not It's not out of the basement anymore or out of a.
But the guys behind it, the guys at the very top, they're still those same guys. Yeah. And unfortunately, things are going to grow, and I hope that FastSociety is lucky enough to be like those businesses and become a household name.
Yeah.
And we will be things that we do lose some of our corporate identity. We won't be able to be as edgy as we are. But that DNA, what we're trying to do now is instill that DNA in our business. At the end of the day, all those companies, Burton, that DNA is still the same. And the people that the things that they represent, albeit on a bigger scale, they still represent it, and they still stand behind it, and they still ooze out of their blood and their DNA and their sweat. I mean, that stuff is still the same. And luckily, we're a startup. And if that comes to be the case, we could always sell and start something new and be even edgier. I mean, that's
because then it won't even matter, because you'll have enough money so that you can be as edgy as you want to be, and it won't matter what. But
or we could spin off other brands under it that are edgier, that we can start to re-niche the niche. Yeah. I mean, the problem is, and what we're talking about is really when a brand goes from like a niche brand into a more mainstream brand, is how do you make that niche that you grew with happy while still growing to the mainstream? It's very hard. It's such a hard balance.
Yep.
It's something we haven't had a chance to experience. I hope we're lucky enough to get to learn how to do that, right? Absolutely. I'm a big believer in niche brands. I really believe that the world we live in, especially with technology, there's never going to be anyone that owns anything again. There's never going to be one browser. There's never going to be one email, or there's never going to be one instant messenger. There's never going to be one group messaging tool. FastSociety is not for my parents or my grandparents. I mean, I have a competitor that would love to go and help my grandparents play cards together. In fact, I would happily let them. Mom, grandma, and grandpa, go. Like, you're not my target consumer. The moment I start trying to be everything to everyone is the moment I'm nothing to anybody, or nothing to nobody. And I'd rather be perfect for just the small people that I love the most and have them love me back than try and have the whole world think I'm something okay. So mediocre.
What about guys like, we're way off here, but this is great because, I mean, it's a good glimpse into what you guys are doing. What about guys like Mark Echo? Is that somebody that do you know this guy?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, okay.
I mean, I think he's amazing. Those are the kind of guys that I would love to have invest. Those are the kind of guys that I would love to have my company. When I build stuff and we do stuff, those are the kind of guys that inspire us to be.
Yeah.
Those are the kind of guys that when we sit down and talk, I'm kind of in shock to talk to. Yeah. Don't get me wrong, meeting some of the people from technology that do amazing companies that are mainstream in technology, it's incredible.
Yeah.
But we grew up with, Mark Echo and guys like him. Those are the guys that are our heroes. Those are the guys that inspired us to do what we want to do.
But he never he built and he never lost that, right? So I met him and was floored because he's probably the same guy today as he was 10 years ago, right? And
it's authentic.
It is 100%. Like there's no bull when it comes to this guy, right? And he's been able to build technology. He's been able to branch out from where he came from and build into technology and still maintain that authenticity. And
sure.
We talked about it before. Guys like Gary Vaynerchuk. I mean, that's the most authentic guy you can imagine, right?
Especially in tech. I mean, the guy has more personality.
But he's not in tech. But he brought that into tech, right? And
but tech was his niche audience, and he spoke to them in a way that nobody had spoke to tech before.
Yeah.
And it worked.
Yeah.
For us, the DNA of my team, the value that my team and I have is this way of thinking. And I really hope and I really believe that FastSociety is a great product and will be a big company one day. But if for some reason it's not, if for some reason it all ends tomorrow, I know that we can sit around and we can think of a new idea and we can build a tech for it. That's not the hard part. And we can brand it, we can get the PR and the press, and we can market it. We can do everything we need to do because we have such an incredible team when it comes to thinking about the stuff that we're not just one-sided. We're not just engineers. We encompass all of that. I think that's the one thing. We just keep getting better and better as a team. As the time goes on, I have one partner I've known since first grade, and my other partner I've known since for the last 10 years, and we're like brothers. We'll never not work together. And so I think that's what's exciting for us, is that we keep getting better at building these products. We keep getting better at doing press and marketing. We keep getting better at all the things that we're good at, and we're a very different team with different focuses. But when we come together, we have a really great unified vision of what we want to do in the space and what we want to do with FastSociety. And I think that's what's important. I think with anything like this, and with Mark Echo, I'm sure he changed his vision along the way. I'm sure he changed what he wanted to do in his clothing company and all the way he designs his labels and all of that. But he's still the same person that saw how important branding was, that saw how important guerrilla marketing and being on the street and being authentic was. And I think that's awesome. And I also appreciate what he did with the Barry Bonds baseball.
Yeah, as well. Awesome.
Yeah, I mean, that kind of stuff is great.
Well, you don't spend that money and then deface it just because, that's authentic, right? That's basically taking everybody's thought that they wish they could do and actually acting on it, right? That's what he does. Tagging.
And I dream of having the kind of financial backing that he does to be able to really go crazy. Yeah. I mean, our team, when the time is right and we really have the right kind of money behind us, world, look out! It's gonna be a crazy place for us. I hope. I'm really excited for those kind of days.
Well, MTV comes up because you're in New York. MTV's in New York. You used to work at MTV. You guys have all worked
I interned.
Interned at MTV. You're working with MTV with Skins, right?
Yeah, we did a campaign with them for Skins when they launched the show.
Yeah.
And it was funny because we did this Skins campaign, and then I'm sure you remember there's this huge backlash. Skins is terrible, and it's ruining our kids. And it's the worst show in the history in the world. And we
sugar
just
for
laughed.
Your brain. Yeah.
Yeah, we loved it. We thought it was great. We were so happy to be a part of that. We were so happy it was considered the most edgy show on television. We loved everything about it. Other advertisers were getting out of it, and we would have loved to have gone even deeper with them. Yeah. Unfortunately, MTV slowed down on their advertising after that, and slowed down on the way that they were integrating with the show, just because of all the backlash. But we loved it, and it was an honor to work with MTV. Very smart people. We know a lot of people over there. I think they're an incredible company. Interning there helped define the way that I look at brands.
Sure.
Helped define the way that changing and being a part of pop culture is definitely something my company and I really love and want to be a part of. And to see the way they do it at MTV, it's anyone my age growing up with MTV,
yes,
it influenced you. It influenced the way that you think about media, and it was really exciting to be a part of that and get to do it. And hopefully we can find another opportunity to work with those guys again. I think they're all very smart people, and the people in their digital side over there, especially people like Michael Scogan, they get it. Yeah. They get it very much. And I think that I'm excited to see where MTV goes. There's some people there that are really smart, and it's a big company, but they're really pushing towards digital in some really unique ways over there.
It seems to me like they're not stuck, right? They're not trying to defend an old business model. They're trying to look for outlets for new opportunities, right?
The coolest thing about MTV, in my opinion, and it's something that some people, when I first started thinking about it, MTV, it's something that I hated, but then I've grown to, as a business person, to really appreciate it, is that they didn't grow with their audience. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. That there was the 80s audience and that first MTV. And that audience grew up, and then there was kind of my generation of MTV, that second generation of MTV, and there's like the Real Worlds and kind of like the 90s MTV, and that was incredible, and it's all of its own MTV. And then we all grew up, and MTV kind of changed again for this generation now, and I wouldn't exactly know how to describe it, but it's a different generation with a different kind of MTV, and it's more digital, and where the next MTV, because there will be another MTV, is going to be something different. And I look at MTV the way I look at mobile, in the sense that MTV 30 years ago when cable started, MTV saw that there was this niche audience and that they could own it, and that's all they care about. And I look at mobile, there's this wide open field of total opportunity, and we want to own that niche, and we want to own that kind of teen and 20 something socially active group even 30 something, whatever it is, people that are passionate about having fun and going out and being social, we want to own that audience. And the only people that have even kind of come close to even thinking like that on mobile is maybe the games. Angry Birds is a great example in the sense that they built a brand. I mean,
they built a huge brand. They're building movie brand out of that, board game and plush toys, right?
And they're smart. They could have. I don't know if they did on purpose or it was a lucky mistake, but I think that either way, they built a game that got huge and they were smart enough. Something like that. Someone knocked on the door and said, "Hey guys, I work for an agency. I work for someone, and I like your brand, and I want to help you get it everywhere." And they said yes, and they will be very wealthy, and will probably have a brand that lasts longer than any other gaming company in mobile. I mean, they could plausibly at this point be a company that's always associated with mobile, the way that Mario is with consoles. Yeah, I mean,
but it's funny though. Yeah, and then they closed a round. I mean, a $41 million round. I don't know what they're going to do with all that money, but certainly it's
make some great games, I hope.
You hope, right? And you hope that the next game is half as popular as the first game, because that would be successful.
But don't think, I read a story about those guys, and it said that they had been doing this for 10 years.
Yeah, I mean, it's not overnight.
No, it's never. No. And, for anyone out there that thinks it is a crazy person. I mean, this is our 4th year of doing startups, I think, are working in this, and it's never once been easy. I wish I had one of those stories where we just went to dinner with some entrepreneur, with some VCs, and they said, "Here's some money," and next thing we knew, we're crazy wealthy and we have $1 million. No, it was like 2 years of hitting our head against a wall and it breaking, our heads breaking and the wall still there, and then finally saying, "Okay, let's tackle this a different way," and doing something a little different. But it's never been easy. We've never had it easy and ever. And so I feel like the moment it becomes easier, the moment it would be easy, is the day that we knew we were doing it the wrong way.
Yeah.
I think that if it's
or
easy,
you weren't pushing enough, which is, I mean, you can get it to the point where it's easy, but when you become complacent, that's when you've given up on the edge that got you there.
Well, I would leave. I would just quit if
it would be it.
Like that. I mean, I don't know. I'm a weirdo, and my personality's a mess. And I meet other entrepreneurs that have sold their companies, or I meet other people that have done this stuff and they sell their companies and they spend 2 weeks on a beach and they're like, "What the hell am I going to do with the rest of my life?" And they go start another company.
Yeah.
And it's just as hard and it's just as miserable.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with us. You don't do what we do unless you're a weirdo, a freak. Like, we're not normal people.
Entrepreneurship is like a disease, right? I don't wish it on anybody, because it's like there's no cure, and it's like going traveling. All you want to do is go back, right? And you forget. It's like having kids. I have kids, but when you have kids, you forget that first 90 days, because if you did, there wouldn't be another kid born on the planet, right?
Sure.
Because it's a nightmare. It's an absolute nightmare. But entrepreneurship is like that disease. It's a curse.
And it's weird because everyone I know that does this is really similar.
Yeah.
We all have the same issue. There's it's something about never being happy, and like the best sense of the word. Like, you're just never content. You always think it could be better, and it's not a great way to go through life. Always thinking something could be better. And I do yoga. I try to keep it under control.
It's not going to work, Matthew. It's not going to work. It's not going to work.
I try.
There's no way to do it. Well, and it's funny because you sound like you're setting up your company to look at it this way: is that, like MTV, it's a great observation that the 80s, they didn't grow, they targeted a certain demographic, an age group, and then that age grew past it, right? And then the next group came in and they changed it to accommodate their needs, and then the next group came in and changed. So it's almost like, especially with FastSociety, it's like there might be a beginning where you use FastSociety, and then you'll eventually work through it, and then you won't use it anymore as you age or you go on.
Sure.
But I wonder if it's the same with you, is that, when you reach a certain age, you'll be like, even if FastSociety is successful, you'll be like, okay, I'm done. I mean, I've passed that threshold. I'm going to go find something else to do. Like, you might be setting yourself for like a maximum shelf life inside of the company, right?
Maybe. I don't know. I haven't reached my 30s yet, but when I do, that might be a really troublesome spot to be in.
It's like you can't fake it anymore.
Yeah, I can't go hang out with the cool kids anymore. They'll be like, "Who's this old man hanging around here?" I'll just make sure I date really young girls if that's okay. The case.
Something to keep you young, and that's exactly what it is.
I don't know. The truth is, like I was saying, I am young in all seriousness, but maybe I'll go and I'll have kids and I'll be like, man, I don't know how to build things for people that are socially going out anymore. Maybe all I know is how to fucking take care of kids, but I'll build something for parents. And so, I've never understood people that build things for people that aren't themselves. I just don't know how you do it. There's a long time that I wanted to be in advertising, and I used to think, how would I ever advertise to my mom, or how would I ever advertise to my grandparents? I don't know those needs. And the truth is, even today, I look at like 11-year-olds and 10-year-old kids that are middle schoolers, high schoolers, and I get where they're coming from, but it's getting harder and harder.
there's a little longer of a gap. Right?
Yeah, and I live in New York, so it's even worse because everyone here seems to be in their 20s.
Yeah.
All right. So it's hard, but yeah, we'll see. It's an interesting, no one's ever said that to me before, so you have me now. I'm slightly worried.
Sorry,
maybe one day.
I'm just saying.
Maybe I'll grow out of it.
You got to drink your own Kool-Aid, right? You got to bring the next guy in that can replace you inside of that company when you have that time.
And it's true. I think for us, young talent and young people, and it's really important. Hiring someone to come in that's it's with kids and family would probably not be something that we'll never discriminate based on age because it's against the law. But I don't know if they would fit the culture of what we're trying to build right now. And again, I think it comes down to culture.
Yep.
Is if you have a culture that feels young at heart, that wants people to feel like they can follow their passions and their dreams, then you'll have a business that attracts those kinds of people.
You know what? I don't even know what else to say after that, Matthew. I think that's probably the best way to end this because this is something that what I've taken from this is that there's a I've never looked at entrepreneurship or as a business as a timestamp, right? Is that this is something that's so appropriate for a certain generation right now of people that will use this product, and you're not trying to extend the life beyond its applicable use. You want, I love the analogy of MTV of just that's your demographic. It doesn't change. Their needs may change and you'll adapt to that need, but that age group or that demographic will stay the same. That's who you're targeting, and I think that it's just it's brilliant. And I think that you guys have certainly the ambition and the personalities to pull that off. Based on this conversation and what I've seen online and the reviews that I've heard online, do you think that that the press and the media get you now a little bit more?
I think so. I mean, the press, I feel like, has always gotten us because I think to be a writer, you have an imagination. You have to have a little bit of imagination, and I think that they look for people that are willing to, with myself. I just don't know how to do it any other way than just be myself, and I think that the press likes that. I think that the people that we've always kind of had a problem with were VCs or people that you can't explain a brand on a PowerPoint Excel sheet or in a PowerPoint or an Excel sheet. I mean, you can't. There's no numbers behind a brand, especially at the stage. I mean, later on, you start to you can see that helping, but in the early stage, when you talk about brand building, it's scary. But I think that the angels that we've talked to have been amazing. Angel investors are incredible, and without them, we wouldn't be here. And to have angels that come from media and mobile already, I mean, those guys got it right away.
Yeah.
But I think as time has gone on, we've seen VCs. Maybe we've either been lucky enough to find those VCs, or we've been lucky enough to meet people whose minds have been changed over time, that people are starting to realize that, look, building a brand is important, and marketing and the media behind it is important, and we need to take some time and think about that as much as we do the technology or anything else.
It's a great approach. So how do people of a certain demographic age find you guys? Just FastSociety.com?
Yeah, FastSociety.com. You can download us on the Apple App Store. You can download us for Android. We should be on just about every Android phone at this point. You can. No
Blackberry, eh? Is that because of the demographic that carries a Blackberry?
Look, here's my Blackberry thing.
Okay.
to be honest. I would like to build a BlackBerry app. I have two issues. One is everyone that has a BlackBerry, and I tell them what we're doing, they're like, oh, you got to build a BlackBerry app. And I say, great. How many BlackBerry apps have you downloaded? Oh, well, I've never downloaded a BlackBerry app.
You can download BlackBerry apps? What?
Yeah, almost nobody has. And so that's an issue. But it's less of an issue than the fact that it costs me an arm and a leg to develop it. That a BlackBerry app is, I could basically build an iPhone, an Android, and a Windows mobile app for the cost of a BlackBerry app. And so to build an app that is really that expensive that nobody would download is a little bit of
a hard thing to overcome.
Yeah. And, we love rich media, and we're pushing towards richer and richer media and richer content, and we need applications that can support it. And BlackBerry's, they're just not quite there yet. We'll see the new operating system. We'll always hold our breath. I mean, competition is good in the mobile space. I'd rather have more brands and more platforms to be on than not. But Android and iPhone especially is just great. I mean, we live on that, and Android we've really enjoyed getting to use and build out our first Android app. We launched a new version on Android and iPhone simultaneously. Yeah. And I think I'm really bullish on Windows Mobile, even though no one seems to use it yet. I want to do a Windows Mobile version. I really want to be on that platform, and I have a lot of faith that I hope it will be a cool platform. I saw what they're releasing shortly. There's a lot of interesting stuff on there that looks really cool.
You never discount somebody like Microsoft. They're the scrappy underdog right now, right? And
a lot of money.
Yeah.
Infinite amounts of money.
They don't often lose, right? That's the thing.
Well, they have lately.
Yes.
But they have lately.
And you know what? But maybe a pissed off Microsoft is a good thing. Right?
I think, part of me thinks if you just broke up Microsoft and said, guys, we're just going to split this into like 5 companies and make them all a little more scrappy, maybe that's all it would take. But we'll see. I'm not their brand guy, but I don't love. We'll see. There's no point in
speculating. Exactly.
Yeah, I would do things a little bit different if I were Microsoft when it comes to branding. I think if they changed their branding a little bit on some of this stuff, they would be a little bit further along, especially with Windows Mobile for the phone. I mean, I don't really get the whole Windows Mobile name. It's not Windows at all. It's something different.
They don't get it. They can't get over. I mean, it's a perfect example of a technology company that doesn't understand how that Windows Mobile is not a brand, right? And what they need to be able to do is create a feeling around it. And right now the feeling is kind of
Well, they could have just named it anything else besides Windows and created a brand, a new brand. They have the money and they have. I mean, when you have that much money, you can build a brand, no problem. You just throw it up everywhere, and suddenly it's a brand.
Yeah, but I mean, as you guys have demonstrated, it's not really it's not so much the money as it is. You've got to have somebody who's like a chief ideas person who understands it.
Right? I don't even think it's that. It's just heart. I think that the brands that people relate to the most are the ones that have heart and emotion behind them, and I think that's all that really matters.
Oh man, I love what you guys are doing.
Thanks, Rob.
The effort to get this on and the communication we've had since October. Well worth it.
My sincere apologies.
No,
if
are you
I've
kidding?
Seen aloof. I'm glad that we finally had the time to do this. You're awesome, and I don't know if you ever have people back, but I hope that a year from now, or we can sit back down and you can watch how we've grown and either become the best brand ever or driven it into the ground. Hopefully,
one way or another.
Hopefully not the case.
Document it either way, because I'm sure it'll be a good story.
Oh well, that's what I'm all about. I mean, hey, at the end of the day, that's what this is all about. It's about having a great story and living a great life. I mean, like I said, I'm really lucky. I have great partners, and we love working together. And at the end of the day, to forget how lucky we are to get to do this would be the real worst case scenario.
Yeah, and you get to do it in one of the best cities in the world. So
I'm ridiculously lucky, and it's nuts. I get to talk to people like you, and hopefully have some people watch and hear what we're doing, and I hope it inspires them to go do the same thing and do interesting, compelling, applications and creations that I look forward to using.
That's wicked.
And the one last thing I'll say is that if anybody sees this and is like, man, I want to be able to talk to these guys, you can always reach out. I'm Matthew at FastSociety.com, always around to talk to anyone. I try to talk to anyone that reaches out to me just because I've been in the opposite before and wanted to reach out to people, and sometimes it's just nice to be able to get some feedback about whatever you're doing. So feel free to reach out. if you've made it through an hour of our conversation.
That's exactly it.
You deserve
some kind of, you need, yeah. You know, I usually send cake, but you know, anybody who's still here after an hour, I usually send cake. And but you'd be surprised that, you know, there are some loyal listeners and watchers. My mom, right?
Nice.
You know,
no, you're a good interviewer.
well, I appreciate that.
If I can turn it around. You're a compelling interviewer. You see some of these. There's a handful of you guys that do these, and I think you're definitely one of the most professional and one of the most compelling interviews out there. And I like your website redesign.
Thanks,
as well.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
you can make sure that's included in here before you cut it off.
Nice, I will. Don't worry. I'll never shut out compliments, man. I'll never edit those out. So FastSociety.com, and if they want to reach you, it's just Matthew at FastSociety.com.
Yeah,
you're
really
on Twitter.
easy.
Yep.
Yeah, MatthewFastSociety.com or Matthew ER, or we're at FastSociety on Twitter.
Okay.
Anything at FastSociety.com will ultimately come to the right person. Yeah. So hard to miss us.
Well, Matthew, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it. I'm glad, as I said, I'm ecstatic that we can get together. You know, all the best in what you're doing with Fast Society. I'll definitely keep watching it. And the next time in New York, which will be in May, I'm gonna look you up and see if I can actually connect.
Oh, let's do it. Done. We
Awesome.
got a spare desk for you at our office. You come work out of here.
Nice. I love it. I'll never leave. It's New York.
That's fine. It won't annoy me, but I'm sure there's a lot of people in here that you would drive crazy.
It's perfect. I've been speaking with Matthew Rosenberg, who's the co-founder and the director of ideas for Fast Society. Go to fastsociety.com or just go look it up on iTunes or Android to download it. And maybe by 2015, it'll be on Blackberry at some point, the next generation. Thank you, Matthew. Thank you guys for watching and listening. If you're still here listening and watching, heartfelt thanks. Really appreciate you doing taking that effort. And hopefully you found, this has been a great conversation. I know you've found some value in it. Thank you so much, and it's been another episode of Untether.tv. Later.
Bye, guys.